Athletics Federation of Nigeria has threatened to sanction athletes who refuse to compete for Nigeria at the just concluded Africa Senior Athletics Championships. Well, joining us now from Lagos is athletics writer extraordinaire. He writes for the Daily Telegraph. Talk about Charles Ogundiya. Charles, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Game On. I'm sure you must have heard Samuel Onikeku's take on the possible punishment that will be meted out on athletes that did not compete in Douala. What is your take on this? And first and foremost, do you know the athletes in question that he's talking about?
Yeah, good evening, Tunde. Hope you guys can hear me loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
We are talking about two athletes, and two of them are Favor Opili and Rosemary Chukuma. But the truth is, the two athletes actually did not compete in their respective events due to so many things that happened in Douala. They are not even the two athletes that did not compete alone. It's not Nigeria alone that failed to compete in Douala. We have so many athletes that failed to compete. We have Talu and some other athletes because of so many things that happened at that competition. One of the things that happened at that competition was some of these events, they were using clapperboard to start instead of the normal start gun that's used normal competition they used to use in normal competition. So I don't know what they are going to do, but like Onikeku said, they need to go through normal process and see the reason why this athlete failed to compete at this competition and the reason why they did not be part of their events. So let's see what they come up with.
Well, Charles, you get the impression that some of these athletes are not, they're pretty much right in the way that they've been going about looking at this competition. From what we heard, there's no guarantee that World Athletics is even going to ratify some of these results. So if that is the case, what is the point in, going out and breaking your back for a competition that you know that the results won't be ratified?
Let me just give you a straight information. The hurdles, the 100-meter hurdles that Toby Amuson failed to partake in the heat has not been ratified by World Athletics. It's only the final that was ratified by World Athletics. So you can imagine competing, getting a world record in the heat, getting a national record, getting African record in the heat. Then you realize that it has not been ratified. It's only the final that has been ratified. So what are we talking about?
But Charles, just before we let you go, I have to ask this question. I'm a bit concerned regarding the actions of the AFN. They might risk ostracizing themselves from the athletes because you do know that there's still some, do I say, residual bad blood. You remember before the last Olympic Games where some athletes were not allowed to compete for Nigeria because the AFN did not get its act right regarding testing of these athletes ahead of the Olympic Games. That led to the likes of Anechi and Echiwoke dumping Nigeria, competing for the United States of America, where she's the national U.S. champion in the hammer, and she'll be competing for the United States at this same Olympic Games. Is there a danger that they might just push some of these athletes too hard and they say, look, you know what, I don't need this, I don't need to compete for Nigeria, and they just drive them to the hands of other countries?
Well, let me tell you one straight thing. These athletes that we're talking about, they are one of our best athletes, no doubt about that. And like Onikeku said, they are going to the technical panel of the AFN are going to look at some of the reasons why this athlete failed to compete. And if they are genuine, then that's the end of it. They will allow them to go forward. That's why they were not part of the 4x100 meter for women, the two of them. But going forward, if their reasons are genuine, so they also didn't compete in our events. They presented a medical report, and she was able to be part of the 4x100 meter women relay. So I don't see anything happening to these athletes. But I can bet you, if this athlete decide that, no, they are not going to compete for Nigeria, then they will have to wait for at least 2 years before they can compete for any other countries. And the reason why Anete was able to quickly go back to US was because she was from US. And she came to Nigeria because she failed to qualify for the Olympics from the United States of America. And she qualified from Nigeria. What really happened was not even the fault of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. It's the fact that the US, where she was coming from, they don't have the issue of act of competition test. That's OCT. But in Nigeria, you must be part of 3 acts of competition tests before you can be part of, before you can compete at a major championship for Nigeria. That was what really happened to her there. So going back to US is just like where I'm coming from. Like somebody coming from Nigeria, going to Benin Republic and going back to Nigeria at the same time. That's what really happened to her. So she left USA for Nigeria and moved back to US, and she had to do better than what she did then to really achieve what she achieved by qualifying for the Olympics. So I'm happy for her, yes, but it's not
a loss. You agree it's a loss for Nigeria?
Yes, so that's just it.
Okay, but finally, before we let you go, Charles, there's also news coming out of the international athletics scene. We heard that Jamaica's 2-time Olympic women's 100-meter and 200-meter champion, Elaine Thompson-Herah, will not defend her titles at next month's Olympic Games after failing to recover from an Achilles injury. Does that blow the women's 100-meter race wide open? And if it does, who are your top 3 picks for that title? I know Shakai Richardson is going to be in that mix as well, but who are your top 3 picks for possibly the women's Olympic 100-meter title?
Let me tell you one thing straight. Looking at the Olympics, seriously, anything can happen at the Olympics, and that's the truth. For Thompson-Herah being out of the Olympics, it doesn't stop. And see, one thing about championship is the fact that even some athletes that you don't even think of can come up. Okay, now let me give you an example. An athlete, a 16-year-old athlete, has finished 4th in US 400-meter race. Definitely is going to be part of the Olympics. 44. For an athlete to do 44 seconds in 400 meter, then forget it, is already there. So let me tell you, anybody can come up. In fact, people feel it can come up for Nigeria, and that's the truth.
Which is why I'm asking the AFL to just be careful with what they do in favor of Philly, considering that she might be a medal hopeful at the Olympic Games as well. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, Charles Ogundi. At pretty much short notice, you always appreciate.
Let me quickly say this.
Okay.
Sorry, let me quickly say this. Some of these athletes, talking about favor of Philly, talking about Rosemary Chukuma, they failed to compete at the national trials. Why one competed in 100 meters, the other one competed in 200 meters, and both of them were not at the final of these 2 races. So what are we talking about?
That's actually really the question. But we'll be watching very closely the investigation of the AFN Technical Committee regarding the possible sanctions on Rosemary Chukuma and favor of Philly. But thank you again for joining us again, Charles. Absolute pleasure having you on the show. Have a pleasant night.